For many students, reading rate is a big issue. So on this slide, what I'd like to do is talk about a routine for helping students increase their reading rate. Now on the previous slide, we were doing repeated readings, but we weren't necessarily timing them. When we have students with very slow reading rate, repeated timed readings are a great way to help them improve. So what you'll need for this are 2 copies of an appropriate text. So usually it's a short text, 1 page, could be controlled or uncontrolled, 1 for the student and then 1 for the teacher. Now on the first read of the text, I always focus on the comprehension because I always want to make sure that comprehension is the most important thing because that's the whole purpose of reading. We have to understand what we're reading. So on the first read, I like to preview any content and vocabulary since I do a lot of informational reading for these types of repeated timed readings. So any kind of content vocabulary, we'll decode it, we'll syllabicate it if necessary, define it in kid-friendly terms, and we want to build some background knowledge surrounding whatever topic it is. And this should really be less than 5 minutes. This is something that's relatively quick, but we want to get the kids ready to read and set a purpose for their reading. And then we'll go ahead and have them read orally, listen, we'll stop, ask students to summarize, discuss important points. So the first read is just what you would normally do to help a student understand a text. We want to make sure they have a solid understanding of what they're reading. Then what we want to do on the next read is have a timed reading. So for this, we're going to set our timer for 1 minute, and we want the student to begin at the first word. So here's an example of a passage. We're going to begin again, always on the first word in the passage. When you say begin, set the timer, the student reads for 1 minute. When they get to the end of that 1 minute and you say timer goes off, the students are going to put a slash behind the very last word they read. So for this example, the word rivers was the last word the student read. So the student put a slash in, or if the teacher's doing it, the teacher can put a slash on his or her copy. Then what we do is we color code this. And I love this because you don't have to have numbered lines. Fluency passages with numbered lines are great to have. They're not always easy to come by and they can be expensive. So you can take any text at all and use it for repeated timed readings using the method that I'm about to show you. Sort of think of it as rainbow reading. You're kind of reading the colors here because the way we're going to do this is we're going to pick a different color every time the student reads. So the first read was green, we put the slash in, and then we wrote first for first read in green. Then the student will read multiple times. It doesn't have to be on the same day. You may do it over the course of a week. Maybe you have them read their second read the next day, the third read and fourth and the fifth. You can continue. Some kids might read 6 or 7 times. So in my office, when I see kids weekly, I usually will do the first read together, like we talked about, and we'll do the next read, which is the timed read, the first timed read. And then I'll send it home with the student, and then they'll do the rest on their own. And each time they read, they're just going to mark it with a different color and then trace it down here. So the second time they read for speed, then they marked it with yellow. The third time they read for speed, they marked that with blue. The fourth time was marked with red, and the fifth time was marked with black. This is a great way to show students that they're progressing each time they read. And you don't necessarily have to count how many words per minute. Now that's something for progress monitoring you would want to do. So at some point, if the student is doing this, you would want to see where they started and where they ended on their final read. But you don't have to do that every single week. This is just a really quick, easy way to take any text and turn it into something you can use for repeated timed readings, which the research shows is a very effective way to increase that reading rate. And I've had a lot of success with this with students who really struggled with their reading. This video on repeated timed readings is part of Read Intervention's Module 3 Fluency. Read Intervention has 3 modules which focus on foundational reading skills and provide over 15 hours of training on phonological awareness, phonics, and fluency. To learn more, visit learn.readintervention.com.